No way.
At KMTV, we dive deep into the world of knowledge management, exploring how dedicated professionals reshape our understanding and drive meaningful change. Today, we are honored to have two standout professionals in the field, Veronica Amiconi and Pedro Garbellini. Their Tech Radio won the prestigious Knowledge Management Initiative of the Year 2024 from SLIP, the British Library and Information Association. They bring a wealth of communication, journalism, and knowledge management expertise, so we are very excited to uncover your journey that led you to this remarkable point in your career. Pedro and Veronica, it's a privilege to have you with us today. Could you share the story behind Tech Radio?
We work for WFP, the World Food Programme, which is the largest humanitarian organization, and specifically we work in the technology function, because WFP works a bit as a company with different functions: supply chain, logistics, finance, HR, and we are in the tech function. It's really supposed to, enable the operations of the organization. And yes, this tech radio was already present before we joined the function. So it was something that we actually leveraged on past knowledge, but we then changed it a bit. Because the idea was to really have a radio. So in the past, it was to be maybe 1 hour meeting, mainly sponsoring leadership. So the leadership, the CIO of tech used to speak in these tech radios for 1 hour. But when Pedro joined specifically, he told to have a whole day streaming of a real radio really, and divided in maybe 20 minutes for and having different people speaking. So not only the CIO, not only management, but really everyone who could have specific projects or initiatives or anything that they would like to speak about. And at the beginning it was very ambitious, because asking people to join for 1 day can also seem a bit overwhelming, because you always need to keep in mind that people work at the time. So we are doing the radio, but people have maybe meetings, activities to do. So at the beginning we thought, okay, can we ask people to join for 1 day? And how did it go, Pedro?
It was tough to create the environment for that to happen. Even for ourselves, because we had to produce 7 hours of content in 1 day. So that's one of the first reactions other people that we are talking they say, which is, but it's 7 hours. How are you working on 7 hours? How do you manage to fulfill 7 hours of content? So that was the first challenge that we have, and we started with actually 2 hours of content, and then we were playing a lot of music. We were playing other kinds of audio, of sound that I brought from my previous experience with radio, just to fulfill the 7 hours. And yeah, now we believe we kind of have created an environment. Veronica brought a lot of the learning words. So the idea that we think is that if you dedicated 1 day to learning, then it's good. 1 day, every 60 days or whatever, dedicated 1 day to learning, and that's what we're trying to make.
Yeah, that actually, we are still in that phase. That we would like people to be more convinced on allocating 1 day to learning, because this is a concept a bit foreign to WFP, because WFP is an organization it's called of cowboys, people who just do the things, action. Okay, so you maybe get funding and let's go to do the project right away. And the idea of reflecting before doing and reflecting after doing is not so. It's still a bit foreign to people. So this is really what we would like to also improve, the TEC Radio also works as a change management channel. It's not only internal communication, knowledge sharing, but also change management. At least this is the direction we would like to take in the future. So maybe really make people understand that it's good to work, to plan, to action, but if you don't take the time to reflect, it's sometimes, you really lose an important component of your job.
So this is the story of TEC Radio. We started a bit more than 1 year ago, and now we have more than 100 hours of audio content. More than 100 people has been hosting shows, and many listeners in different countries where WFP operates.
Okay, fantastic. What's your vision? Why did you start this?
Because because I was recently joined at the WFP at the time. So personally, I saw the TEC Radio, the brand, the name, and I always liked radio. So I just thought, well, why not? Why don't we do? Because we had a strategy on the IT division, the IT strategy that was recently launched, and we had to speak about that strategy through the employees. So our idea was, okay, maybe let's, instead of doing a webinar, which is well known, everybody speaks about webinar, why don't we do a radio, something different, to speak about the strategy? And then we start speaking about everything inside technology function.
So the TEC Radio started during COVID, but it streamed music, right?
Yeah, it started during COVID, but as a webinar, as a normal meeting. But at the beginning and at the end of that meeting, they played music.
Okay. And can you please bring me to the back office? How should I imagine this in terms of technology and process? Like, how do you produce the content? How do you choose the experts talking? How do you measure engagement? Like A to Z.
Okay, I can speak about technology and engagement, and you about content. Okay, Veronica?
Yes.
This is perfect. Yes.
Technology, the WFP uses Microsoft software. So Teams, Microsoft Teams is the overall communication technology to all the staff. So TEC Radio is via Microsoft Teams. Technology point of view, I didn't want to bring anything new. I did not want to bring a different app, a different website. I didn't want people to go somewhere else. I just wanted them to stay wherever they are and receive the content from there. So that worked well, I guess, staying in the technology already existing there, not bringing something new. So technology apart is simple. And also on the data, the teams give me, after a meeting, they give me an attendance sheet of who connected, how many minutes that the people stayed connected, when did they left, when did he join again. So also Teams is where I receive the data in an Excel file to analyze the community, to understand how many hours each of one's listen, who are the top 5 listeners. So basically it's all via Microsoft tools.
And how should I imagine this? So do you pre-record the content, or it's a live content, and how do people listen to it? I guess they joined because most of the people would be joining, they would be just listening, right? Because they are not attending the meeting. Or how should I imagine this?
You should imagine exactly like we are here doing, but without the camera. So no camera, no one has a camera. We are speaking as it is. So you join as if it was a meeting. Your camera and your microphone, if you are a listener, are disabled, such as in a radio. In a radio, you cannot transmit, you can only receive. So basically, it's the same process as joining a meeting that everyone does every day. You just join a meeting and you listen, and then I can just minimize the screen and keep doing my work while listening. We made a joke at the beginning that is because radio is simultaneous. You can do more than one thing while you listen to radio, and that's really powerful. And I said, like, you do that anyway when you were in a meeting that you were bored. You minimize and you start doing other stuff. So that was kind of a joke. And regarding the content, then there was a challenge that all the year we build upon knowledge management perspective. Right, Veronica? There was a lot on that.
And do you pre-record these meetings?
Yes, we do like we're doing here. Like you are recording the meeting, we are recording the meeting. And then we cut it and share it as a podcast.
Okay. With what tool do you cut it?
Adobe Audition. Yeah.
Okay. And when you publish it, do you publish it on Stream, Microsoft Stream? Okay. Where you have the transcription.
And of WFP Go. Of WFP.
Okay. And can then people interact with the content, or does it? I guess this is going to be more like Veronica's area, but does it become like a knowledge article that people can search using Copilot, or this is purely for connecting stuff?
No, we each recording is put on a collection page of our intranet. So we have like a dedicated archive, let's say, of all the Tech Radio episodes since day one, and is available to all staff to search, and they can listen. It's not right, or like they cannot. It's not like written story, but they can re-listen each episode by show. So it's 20-minute shows and the one day. So that's how they interact with content. And maybe we can specify that actually it's live during the day. So during the day it's live, we are really like in a live studio. And then this becomes recorded and available to all staff as a podcast after the live show. And maybe for the content, we can also say that one challenge we had at the beginning is that the tech function has 10 different functions inside. And these 10 different functions, in the past, they used to have a comms officer each, because of course there is need to communicate about specific aspects of the technology function. But then with the change in management, the comms function became one. So basically we were like overflowed of requests from different branches to ask, hey, I have this project, I want to communicate about this. I have this project, I want to communicate about that. And we couldn't like 3 people physically manage such amount of requests to do like a communication campaign for each request. So Tech Radio was also a good opportunity to basically give them a forum. Okay, so you have something to speak about, to communicate, we give you 20 minutes for one month, and that's the way you can communicate about your project. So we don't need to really work ad hoc on your specific product, because that will be unsustainable. So also Tech Radio was a good way for us to streamline the communication flow within the division. But then like what we wanted to also bring in Tech Radio was the community of practice aspect. So like each Tech Radio day is specific on a topic that can be artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, emergency preparedness, because we have also the aspect of tech in emergencies, or the data that we launched, the data strategy this year. So there was one specific episode also about that. So it really like create the community of practice around a team that during the day is really like deep dived in. We bring different experts in the organization on that specific topic, and we also give the opportunity to people in the chat during the day to ask questions. So if people who are listening want to ask questions on maybe something that is touched upon during the call, during the day, they can do that in the chat, and we always like respond to them. So there is also this possibility to interact with our listeners during the day.
Okay, fantastic. So these are basically informal communities of practice that everyone can join.
Yes. Okay.
And how does your leadership like Tech Radio?
They liked it quite a lot, because our CIO is very he's not really controlling our activities. He's really like anything you suggest, it's fine. But I think at the beginning it was quite of like free. But now I think he really is interested, and really like sees tech radio as a powerful communication tool also for leadership communication, because we had a lot of leaders really joining tech radio and bringing being interviewed, so bringing their vision about their specific area of interest in tech radio.
Pedro, do you have any comment on this?
No, the leadership was helpful. At the beginning we recorded a vignette with the voice of the CIO, which is nice. Normally he does not join, but that's his posture with other events. But Tech Radio has become a way of the leadership to share, as Veronica said, just repeating, to share their communication, their information. If there's a new strategy that's going to be out, a new policy, a new document, most of the times they reach Veronica and myself and say, hey, we have this, can we announce it through Tech Radio? And of course.
So how do you two work together? Because so far I understood that Veronica is on the learning side and content, and you, but I saw also on LinkedIn, Pedro, that you have a background in journalism and communication. So what are the skills for a successful Tech Radio launch?
We were really a balance. Veronica and myself, we work nice together in different projects, and Tech Radio is one of them. So I guess personally we balance each other quite well to make the product. And I bring the technology and the communication we both has. Veronica can speak on her previous experience as a communication in WFP, and myself, I bring most the technical part. Veronica bring her expertise in knowledge management, let her say, and then together we kind of both are the producers. Mm-hmm. By producers, I mean that we reach out to the guests, we explain to them what it is, we invite them, we define the frame of the content, we do the interviews. So we have a common shared function, which is the foundation of that. And on the sides, I have the technical, and she brings the knowledge management, the focus on that, which is the foundation of that. What else, Veronica, do you say?
No, that's, we really, Pedro said it all, that we both share the interviewer function, so we interview the guests, but then, Pedro works on the technical side and I work on the content side, but many times also Pedro works on the content side when he has ideas. Also Pedro works on the community engagement, so building relationship also with people, because it's important, no? To also reach out everyone, so thinking on how you can reach specific areas, because as we said, Tech Radio is listen everywhere, in every country. So also establishing the relationship with the countries is something very important that also Pedro does as community manager.
Okay, and World Food Programme is a very inspiring organization. Do you have also external speakers who represent some very specific knowledge that maybe your staff is interested about?
We did this sometimes. Do you remember, Pedro, we did this with the cloud situation, like when we basically had an episode dedicated to connectivity and cloud computing. Mm-hmm. So the chief of the cloud computing branch, he brought in an external guest from Amazon. And so the same also happened with cybersecurity. In the past, we brought in a guest that he was like an expert in cybersecurity. So sometimes we have this, if we think it's appropriate to maybe have someone external to speak on a topic, we always bring in someone.
Okay, and do you have a studio in your organization?
There is a small studio, like a podcast studio for isolated for voice recording, but we do not use that because it's not really open, not for use, but it's for one person, two person. It's small, And what we were aiming is having an open radio studio so people can come in and see and check out what is happening. So every time we do tech radio, we book a meeting room. The last ones we are doing in the library. The World Food Program has a library, so we thought, why not? Let's do in the library. We had a good collaboration with them, especially via knowledge management and the collaboration Veronica built with that division. And then we said, hey, can we do it here? It's going to be a bit noisy and the library is silent. So there was a funny prompt on that, but they accepted. And so that's the overall idea that I brought from a radio experience that I had in São Paulo, in the Bienal Art of São Paulo, which they built an open radio studio there. And that was really professional. So it was a nice room, totally open, transparent, many microphones. And throughout the day, artists, musicians were coming in. You can, as a listeners, you could just join, sit and listen. So this is something very important that we are trying to build more every day. So we are not closed. Tech radio is open. You can jump in, and we bring fruits also. Food is always something.
Yeah, I wanted to say that this is getting nicer and nicer, and we need some coffee and food, and then we are really good. That's very, very nice. And if someone wanted to set up a tech radio, what would be the things you would advise them to avoid? And what would be the things that you would say, okay, these are really good practices, follow this idea?
I would say first one thing that worked really well that we did is that we started small. We started without much presumption, ambitions. We said, let's just start it. Let's not even announce much. Let's just experiment. So if you want to do something such as a radio project within your company, start small and experiment, and be transparent about that. Say like, we are experimenting, so you should expect. We say at the first transmission, you should expect mistakes. We are experimenting, and that's it. It's a pilot project. So that was something that gave me a lot of confidence to experiment, to not be, if it doesn't work, then it's not something that it's okay. We will experiment to see if it's working or not. So I would really push into this experimentation mood.
Yeah, and maybe also about the quality of the content, because it's not, sometimes you can think, okay, you give like for an organization, in order to sustain a radio, an organization like WFP, so remember people are working while listening, I think the quality content of the quality of the content, so people listen to you if you have really something important to say. It's not like you can bring them meaningless content. So every show you do, you should think carefully about the guest you want to interview, about the questions, because we prepare the questions in advance in order to guide. And then at least myself, what I try to do, it's really to, at the end of each interview, there are some concrete output. So some knowledge produced. It's not always easy because it really depends on the guest and if the person behind, the microphone has something relevant to say. But I really like to conduct the interview in a way that we, at the end of each listening, you have some concrete outputs that you can really say, okay, I have learned this. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, I don't know, in Namibia, the school feeding system was working in that way. And now I know it, so I can reuse this in my work. Or I didn't know that, I don't know, maybe sometimes we also do quiz, which is something very nice. Maybe Pedro, do you want to say about the quiz we do? We also do like learning as gamification, so knowledge as gamification. So maybe if you want
to... we did an experimentation on that, which we had to, there was a data strategy that was launched, and we had to kind of promote it. So I thought, let's do a quiz live on the radio to test the knowledge of the audience. So I contacted some colleagues in the country offices that I was in the countries that I was creating a relationship. I said, hey, build up a team, select 3-4 people, come on, jump in, we're having a team. And then Veronica and myself, I had a reference as a TV show, as a quiz on the TV, which is when there's some people there and you throw a question, whoever press the button first has the right to answer the question. In that case, we use the raise the hand feature here in Teams.
Mm-hmm.
So if Veronica raised her hand now, she will be number 2. So that was a feature on technology that works really well. So whatever raised the hand first has the mic open to answer the question. Then that worked really well. So just to close on that, the relevance, it's something that Veronica brought, and it's extremely important. If it's not relevant, then why should you listen? So really be worried about what is the relevance on what you're saying. Do not speak of what you want to say. Speak about what's needed to be spoken in the organization at that time, what's relevant.
Okay.
Not of what I want to speak, because my mind is not about WFP's 20,000 people. So I do not have a view of what is happening. Myself only, and Veronica, we do not have it. So we have to try to have our eyes open as detectives to see what is trending, what is the problems that we're having, what should we speak about, and then we started speaking about what can be relevant. Sometimes we did not make it right. Sometimes we did an interview and then said, that's not relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Or even
do you publish that with the interview, or you publish everything, right?
Yes, I mean we publish everything because we have we have always people connected, so people listen even to the interviews that we think that maybe are not like super good, but out of transparency we publish it.
And also to engage people with the Tech Radio as well. Is it safe to say that Tech Radio is now more than Tech Radio? That it's not only about IT?
Yeah. It is. Because the management plan was make technology not just technology function, but as a business partner, strategic. And I guess that project dive into that, because Veronica and I always looked a lot of collaboration with other divisions. So, and technology actually is the foundation of many of the projects. So the leadership view of technology, we have embedded it in our knowledge management and communication project.
So Pedro, you are in IT. Veronica, you are in which area? Or am I saying it correctly? Because I guess you guys also have internal communications team, right? And I just want to see how this fits in the organizational chart.
No, we are in the same team because we are the communication and knowledge management for tech. So that's why it's called Tech Radio, because let's say our mandate is really to speak about tech only. We don't have the mandate to speak about the whole WFP, even though, now the concept, this pilot has really becoming successful. So potentially it could be a WFP radio, but for that, investment will be needed. And also, it's a different whole story. If it needs to be scaled up, there needs to be investment and maybe more management, high management mandate. So for now, actually, we are also happy to keep it like that for now. So we have more also flexibility and freedom. So let's see where it goes in the future. But for now, we are on keeping it tech radio.
And does every division in your organization have communication and knowledge management, or it is only IT?
No, almost each function has comms differently structured. Some functions have it better, some functions have it a bit worse, because everything depends by funding and also how the function is internally organized. But it's kind of a trend that each division and function has this comms KM focal point.
Okay. Okay, that's very interesting. And when you do like for 7 hours, you have this radio live. How do you manage the guest? Do they sign up in an Excel sheet, or how do you know who is coming after who, and with what kind of topic?
We prepare a schedule,
Mm-hmm.
like an Excel file. Actually, it's
Okay.
a Word document, but it's a table in which we put, and that's a work we start 1 month before the transmission. We start engaging with the people. Hey, we're going to talk about, last episode was innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So we opened the Excel file and we start with some of our ideas. Veronica and myself, like, okay, innovation is the topic, who we can interview. And then we throw some names, some ideas. Okay, maybe we talk about that, maybe we interview that person, and then we put in the Excel file. And then we start reaching out to those persons. We always have a subject matter expert. That was something Veronica brought, which is someone that is well knowledge on the topic, and we ask advice for that person, such as, hey, you know, who do you think we should interview? What do you think we should talk about? Because we are not experts on innovation, we are just a medium for it. So who do you think? That's an important person when we produce our shows, right, Veronica?
Yes, and we, as Pedro said, this is a process that starts at least 1 month before the actual live. Even before, sometimes, like if we have already ideas on what the next topic should be, we have already prepared the agenda. It's like an agenda of the day, an agenda of an event, same idea. And we always work on the same Word document, so we have always the track of all the episodes we did. So we remember also the name of the people who have already been interviewed. And actually we like to have guests that come more than one times. Like, you know, as we have the listeners, we call the aficionado listeners that always listen, we also have the guests that always come, because it's not like we interview someone and then you never come again. No, actually we are happy if you come more, because this means that you create a relationship with this channel, that you see that's something valuable for your work, and you are willing to come again and again anytime there is something relevant you want to share with the audience.
Okay. Do you have any favorite episode that you produced and you were like, okay, this was really like 10 star out of 5 for me?
I have mine, but maybe Pedro has, I don't know if that's the same.
What is yours?
Mine is the knowledge management one. We did one dedicated episode fully to knowledge management, in the sense we wanted to really break down with the experts. We had actually Chris Collison. He's quite renowned in the field of KM, yes. And he has been working with WFP to create a strategy, the KM strategy, which I think will be launched soon. And he really guided us in this episode to like have different shows dedicated to different tools. So for instance, we had the show about community of practice. So how you can sustain a community of practice in WFP, how you can conduct a knowledge retention interview, how you can conduct after action reviews. So we had all these shows about the tools, and we invited different guests who were doing this in the organization, because maybe, I don't know, supply chain was doing something, APP was doing something, there's another division was doing something else. So we really brought into practice these tools of KM.
That's fantastic. You connected an external expert with someone who is doing this work in practice in your organization. I think that's brilliant. Pedro, what was your favorite?
I would say the same, because
the same.
It was the first time we did on the library, and that was really cool. It was the first time I did a video recording the people speaking in the microphones, so that was something really cool.
Okay, and how can people, the listeners, express whether they liked the show or not?
In the chat.
In the chat?
In the chat. So we We never we never formally asked for feedback. Like, hey, what did you thought? Click here to put up a form where you share your feedback. We never did that. But people normally in the end of the session, when we are saying thank you, bye, it was nice, now we are leaving, people written small message to us like saying, hey, that was so nice, I really enjoyed working and listening to Tech Radio today. So we take a screenshot of that message and we keep it as the feedback database for us to build up our argument when we speak about Tech Radio.
And when you publish it on stream, do you categorize the topics like, okay, this is the channel about innovation, this is a channel for cloud, this is, yeah?
Yes. We have an overall page of Tech Radio, and within that page, there's sub-pages on each episode. So Tech Radio on innovation, Tech Radio on knowledge management, Tech Radio on artificial intelligence. And then you click that, and then you see all the content that was broadcasted in that. And the intranet also has a search bar where if you type innovation, it's expected to appear Tech Radio on innovation in the search bar. We do not have control of the search bar, they're changing it a bit, but it's expected to be seen. If you type the keyword, you should find content related to that.
Okay, and are you going to use or are you going to encourage listeners to use Copilot to have a conversation with your content for those who have missed it? Or
no, because Copilot is not something all WFP staff has it, so it's not available.
Okay, how did you come up with the branding? Are there any elements that you decided, like motto or logo or anything?
Well, on the graphic design aspect, Camila Curiel, a friend of ours, helped on the design. She works in WFP also, so she made a nice design. And thumbnails are really important because when we share the video on stream, the recording, when we share the audio on stream in the recording, we add a thumbnail, which is nice, has something visual to show the faces of the people who are there. So thumbnails are really important if you want to share your podcast. That's a big part of the identity. And we have also a sound identity, and that was something created by me, which with a lot of editing audio, I try to say, okay, how does a Tech Radio should sound like? So I downloaded many sounds related to technology, so printing, electricity, robots, Terminator, the movie. I get a lot of references from movies such as Doctor Who, many references that relates us to this future technology, Back to the Future, the movie. So I did like a download of many audios like that, and then we build the sound identity on that, which now seems familiar to some. And yeah, those two identities are very important to create whatever it was created.
Yeah, the belonging part. And how do you deal with feedback? So you are not asking for feedback, but people might provide you some feedback about, hey, this is an expert I would like to listen to, or I would like to have this or that. Are you collecting it somewhere, evaluating it, or you are experimenting and building on what you are doing?
Every episode we try to take some notes on what worked well, what not worked well. So we build up a lesson learned exercise document for ourselves. And I've been receiving feedback this past 2 months bilaterally, free from people. And we are now going into a phase of consultancy phase somehow, which we need to do something next year, we'll call. So we will analyze Tech Radio, how it went. If there's something we need to change or not, we will do that analysis, and we will probably at that analysis time try to collect some formal feedback from some selected people saying, hey, what do you thought? Do you think we should change? What's worth what's not? So I guess we will start that process. But from the past, we have received, as I said, not requested, but free feedback. Sometimes we put it on the document, sometimes we just put it in the heads, and sometimes we...
The tacit knowledge, yes. So, as I understood, you have 1 day for Tech Radio per month, right?
Every 2 months, let's say. Every 2 months, sometimes every 3, because it's really specific on the topic chosen. So, let's say if there is a launch of a strategy, like the data strategy that was maybe when in March, February, we did it for that. Now there will be the AI strategy launched soon in 2025, so most probably the next episode will be on that. So we tailor it on specific events, but our consistency is every 2-3 months. That's
okay. So if someone wanted to launch a radio in their organization, and this is going to be the closing words for our meeting,
I can say that maybe once definitely start small, as Pedro has already mentioned. So you should not start like, okay, I'm bringing the future here, the radio, and I'm doing it all by myself. Like, start with a small pilot and see if your organization is also ready for that, because it's very important to see, which organization, how many people is in your organization, is there enough audience to sustain something like that. So do some research first and then start smaller. And then definitely the quality of content. Like, the content should really be tailored with your organization, because each organization has different needs in terms of knowledge. So really tailor the content to your organization, and also be mindful of the concept, the push and pull of knowledge. So don't overflood your audience with knowledge. Like, you cannot start doing, maybe, let's say if we do a tech radio every 2 weeks, it will be too much for people, definitely. So be mindful on how much knowledge you put in, but also be mindful of the knowledge that is looked for by your audience. So maybe ask what they would like to hear, what are the topics they are interested in, and then tailor your content on that.
And then during the day you have these 20 minutes shows.
Yes.
And between 20 minutes you have music, or yeah?
Yes.
How do you choose the music?
That's some feedback we receive. We write in the chat, hey, send your music requests, and people share their music, and then we add those music at a playlist in Spotify. And if no one asks music, we always can prepare. Veronica, myself, always come. Veronica always send a list of musics that she has. Hey, Pedro, this is my list of musics for today. So I play those musics. I play on previous requests from people. So we are always collecting a database. And that's quite interesting, because listeners are from different countries, Burkina Faso, Niger, Thailand. So the music diversity should reflect that.
Yeah.
So basically is that we need to be diverse in our musical, not just...
That's fantastic. Pedro and Veronica, this was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the inspiring chat. This is exactly how I imagine tech radio. And you should be really proud of yourself of pioneering this idea within an organization, and not just, in commercial context. Thank you so much for everything, and have a lovely day.